Most business advice sounds really good until you actually try to use it. You've got influencers, millionaires, podcast guys trying to tell you how to escape your 9 to 5. A lot of these people have never run a small business. They didn't start from the ground up. A lot of them started on YouTube. Never had to knock doors. They never went and chased leads, and they never had to figure out how to make money this week. So in this series, I'm putting their advice to the test. I personally run a real service business. I have real customers, real complications, and real problems that I solve every day. We're gonna react to clips, I'm gonna break them down, and I'm gonna give you the honest truth. What's useful, what's overrated, and what's straight up garbage. If you're trying to start something or grow your small business, you want a real world perspective, this is the place. Let's get into it. Welcome back, guys. Today we're gonna be breaking down some advice from Thryve Lopez, business advice. Let's see what he has to say.
When you got your first mill, buy a farm. Don't ask me why. No questions answered on that. I'm Thryve Lopez, and I'm on Help Bank. Why do most people never get rich? Never think.
All right, I'm gonna answer the questions before he answers them and kind of see how they compare. Because they don't start a business, create something, or advance enough in a corporate position to become like a CEO. As far as rich, we are talking most likely, in my opinion, $500,000 to $1 million a year. The only way you're going to get there is moving up the corporate ladder so much to where you are a CEO at a big company, inventing something, starting a business, or athletics, entertainment. So I would say that's the biggest reason is majority of people work in a career.
That way because you're starting from scarcity, and most likely we live in a multiverse where there's many parallel universes. Just focus on yourself and what's holding you back. What's most likely holding you back, I call it the tyranny of your parents. Something you learned in your childhood that will hijack you. Figure out what it is and stop thinking that way. For example, you may think people who have money did something horrible to get it, and therefore you feel guilty when you make it. That's the tyranny of your ancestors.
I disagree. I think he, like most of these people do, they give a very generic answer. I think he should have been more specific, like my answer. Mine was a very specific answer. The reason why most people don't get rich is because they don't seek the things that produce the ability to get rich. Like this whole mindset thing, they always talk about mindset. People don't have the mindset. Lots of people want to get rich. They're just not seeking the careers. They don't want to work hard enough in those careers, and that's perfectly fine. Okay. Thryve Lopez got rich by digital marketing himself. That's how he got rich. He might have had income, he might have had money from other things, but he found a way to digitally monetize and market himself in a way that nobody was really doing at the time, and that is how he got rich, because he blew up on social media. He sold a lot of course information, a lot of information on how to get rich before he was genuinely rich. He had money, he had income. He was probably making more than most people, but he wasn't necessarily rich at the time.
Doing lead generation with Google Ads for a financial services business. I started my own company and I figured out how to generate leads on Google AdWords. It used to be 20 cents a click. Now it's 20 bucks. So once you know marketing, wealth is somewhat inevitable. Or what's the most underrated skill in business?
Communication. Maybe that's the overrated one, but I think the most underrated skill in business, no, I'd say the most underrated skill in business is organization. I think that is what takes a business from being a small business to being a big business, is organization. I think if you mess up the organization and you grow too quick, you get to a point where the whole entire business fails. As far as like small businesses, I wouldn't say underrated skill, but one of the skills many people are missing out is that communication skills. Communication is the most important part in business.
Knowing how to manage your time. Hey Siri, set a timer for 18 minutes. These are called Pomodoro sprints or Pomodoro method. So then I'll focus for 18 minutes on one thing, like answering all my emails. And then when it's done, I'll go, hey Siri, set a timer for 5 minutes.
I think we're like right on similar answers. Mine was organization, his was time management. I think they do play hand in hand. I think organization includes time management. But as far as organization goes, it's, your bookkeeping, your time management, where all your employees are at and what they're doing when they're on the job, if they're being efficient, the efficiencies in the business. So I feel like the organization is definitely underrated. I feel like people don't talk about that when it comes to small businesses and growing and the ability to go from generating $250,000 a year to generating $5 million a year. The biggest part is that organization. Without that, many businesses completely fail and go bust. And I think time management is a big part of that organization. So I agree with him. But I think it's maybe my answer is a little too broad.
take a 5-minute break, just do whatever, and I work in sprints. So the most underrated skill in business is how to set up your daily routine. What's my definition of wealth? 30 million net worth or higher.
30 million net worth or higher. Definition of wealth. I think if you have a net worth of around 5 to 10 million, you likely have a $1.5 million, depending if you're at that 5 to 10, $1.5 to $2.5 million house. You have more than enough cars, 3 or 4 cars that are reliable, so you're not ending up stuck on the side of the road. You can purchase just about any food that you want. And when I say that house, I mean owning that house outright with that net worth. I don't mean you owe per month. So you own that house outright. Then you have, a good 3 to 4 million in investments. And then you have some liquid, 1, 2 million liquid, maybe slower investments, but close to liquid. With that kind of money, I think you are wealthy. You have a very nice house. You have security. You have transportation security. You have food and shelter security. And you have enough money to raise children, and your earning potential, even if you're not working, is enough to live a decently sustainable life just based on your investments. So I think 5 to 10 million is wealthy. It's not rich, but it's wealthy.
You could say 10 million if you're talking about financial wealth. When
10
I
million. Right. Cool.
think wealth, I think money. When I think about the good life, I think about more than money. Aristotle, Socrates, they used to call it eudaimonia. You're financially independent when you can make between 100 grand and 1 million in the Western world. You're rich when you can make 1 million to 10 million, or your net worth is there, and you're wealthy above that. What do most successful people have in common? You got to quantify. We talking about successful like billionaires? Billionaires are ruthless and high IQ at the same time. I think they have in common balance. They know when to stop, you know? It's like dudes that lift weights and then their body starts to look good, so then they got to pump steroids till they look like a freak. They don't know when to stop.
I think what most successful people have in common is boredom. To be honest, I think most people, I could be completely wrong. Maybe I'm completely biased, but I think the people that just get bored of working a job, or just get bored of not having something constantly to do, is why they end up doing something that makes them successful. Those same people that get bored are the same ones that constantly go out to the club every night. I think most successful people share that boredom trait. It just depends on, the successful people use it properly, and the unsuccessful people are the ones that go and waste all of their time doing things, that give them false dopamine. My daily routine, I'm not massively rich, so my daily routine is waking up at 7 to 8 a.m. It's not perfectly dialed in, going to the gym, coming home, eating breakfast, having my social time, going to work, coming home, having a little bit of social time, and then working again, and then going to bed.
In 1 hour of the sun coming up. That's what our ancestors did, and there's a lot of science on that. I have homes in different time zones, so I can't always pull it off. But if you're asking me for the ideal routine, do a little fasted work. We used to do this on a farm. You'd wake up, have to feed all your animals before you ate breakfast. Don't eat breakfast for 1 to 3 hours. Then eat, take a nap, and lift weights if you're a dude. And women too. You're your strongest about 5 hours after you wake up. I like to make money early. Go start making money. You cannot do 16 hours of high intensity money making work. It's a myth. There's a great book called Deep Work by Cal Newport, a scientist. You can get in 3 crazy focused creative hours, and then you can work longer. So I do the mornings like focused as much as I can, and I keep working the afternoon, but slowly but surely I'm a little less focused. Then nighttime social life, friends, family, romance.
I agree with this for the most part. I do believe that you have to focus, especially when you're able to. Those hours when you're able to put the most focus in, you can do all the stuff that you need to focus on. If you run a service business, do all of your books, do all of your everything you need to focus and sit down, do those in those hours a day that you're able to. But then I do think you can work for 12, 16 hours a day on the actual physical side. I don't think there's a problem with that for most people, at least for me. The very, intense brain work, you only have a few hours a day. The physical labor, much more time.
Important is owning equity to get rich. To be wealthy, you need to have equity. 1 to 10 million, you can build it with a service.
I think to get rich, it's very important. I think to get wealthy, it's not as important. If you want to have $100 million, extremely important. Extremely important. But it depends on how quick you want to do it. Assets and equity almost never scales quick. It's investments like businesses that scale quick, inventions that scale quick, but they are definitely very beneficial.
business. But if you want to be wealthy, more than 10 million, then you're going to have to own shares of something, preferably a tech company. Those of you really greedy, AI tech, you need to be in that. What's the best marketing strategy you've ever seen? Well, practically now, when you run ads, focus on CTR, click-through rate. That's the number one predictor of a profitable marketing campaign. You got to know how to make good hooks. Good opening hooks. The average human has under 6-second attention span. Without a hook now, especially with the algo, you won't win. What's the key to a good personal brand? You know, some people would say
I agree.
authenticity, which there's truth to it. What's one crazy thing that you truly believe that 80% of the world will think is crazy? Talk about that once in a while. What's my biggest?
As far as brands come, I don't know if you know Togi. Not a huge fan of him, but there's one thing I heard him say. It's that just, a little humor, 50 million unique viewers watch the WNBA every year. Have you ever watched a WNBA game? Most people, if you just are, being yourself and putting out content, there's a lot of people that will listen to it and will enjoy it if you just stick hard with it. I don't think that you have to be, exceptional. I think that based on how many people that there are in the world, how many people have access to the internet, you don't have to be like some special freak. You just have to put the effort in and you have to be consistent.
Business regret. A lot of people.
I've only been in business for 4 years now. I'd say my biggest regret was my first couple years. It's hard because the first couple years you're learning, but I wish I definitely put much more effort into learning how to like immediately start a business with employees instead of starting a business where I'm the main person in the business, because now I still have so much of my time in the business instead of having other people run it. Whereas I know a couple people that decided to make a lot less money per job but have other people do the work, and they've been able to scale a business much quicker because they're not having to spend all their hours doing the actual workload. They can get somebody else to do the work for them, and they can focus on what's important about, the important parts of scaling a business.
People say do what you love. I have a different take on that. What are you curious about? Like me, I'm curious about psychology. If I had $1 trillion wired to me today, and they're like, you cannot work anymore, you have $1 trillion, I'd still talk about psychology. Charlie Munger said, you want to know what's your biggest mistakes? Invert your greatest wins. Stuff I'm curious about, my biggest wins. Stuff I'm not curious about, but I think is trendy, that never works out. Who is the most impressive entrepreneur you have ever met? Fertitta. He's one of the wealthiest guys. I think he's the wealthiest man in Texas. 10 billion net worth. I once had on my podcast, I said, Tillman, what's some practical advice for the entrepreneurs that follow me? He said, always keep 600 million in cash. I was like, Tillman, this is very unrelatable advice. But what's impressive about this guy, he owns basically the largest company in America with no shareholders. He has complete freedom. Elon Musk has 1 million shareholders of Tesla that are always mad if the stock goes. So what I like about Tillman is he built wealth, but he has, in Spanish, we call it tranquilo. His life is chill because they don't have anybody get mad at him. He owns the Houston Rockets basketball team. You go to his office, he put it at the top of a Four Seasons hotel, and you have to walk through a Bugatti dealership. You know how they're like, what color is your Bugatti? Tillman's like, bitch, what color is your dealership? How do you handle hate online? If you don't have haters, you ain't popping.
Just ignore it. I mean, if haters affect you to the point where they affect your life, you probably should not put yourself on the internet, unfortunately. Maybe it's a learning skill, but I think you either have the ability to just not care what people think because, yeah, basically that. You just don't let it affect you. It's not that difficult, and if it is that difficult to you, then maybe you have to rethink being on the internet. Yeah.
Drake said that a long time ago. So I actually gauge my hate when it's too low. I know I'm doing something wrong, and when it's too high. Optimal threshold is about 10 to 20%. Now remember, 10 to 20% of haters will feel like 50% because haters talk more than people who love you. This is called the negativity bias in humans. And
Like
so
the
I just
media.
handle hate by using it as a gauge of my virality. What motivates you to keep making money? I mean, I think genetically some people just are money makers. I have a mentor, his name's Rorion Gracie. His father invented Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he invented the UFC. He sold it to Dana White. And he still does Jiu-Jitsu, and he's in his 70s. So what motivates him to do Jiu-Jitsu? It's in his blood. Me making money is gonna be in my blood.
I agree. Most people, like, it's just who you are. The few things you had learned between the ages of like 0 and 10 are what really determine, and the biological, who your parents are and the DNA you have definitely determines what type of person you're going to be, if you're going to be that person that's bored and it's always seeking to do something greater.
How important is purpose in business?
Not important at all as far as growing a business. As far as being happy and satisfied, it's very important. But when it comes to growing a business, having purpose is not that important. The business I run, I enjoy it. I enjoy the fact that, it helps other people, but overall, I'm not passionate about it. I don't believe the purpose of it is, amazing. I think what I do is needed to be done, but I don't have purpose. I didn't seek out to, do what I do in my business because it's like something that's very important to me. I don't think it's important. I think, you grow a business so that you can live your life outside the business. I think you focus on something, you try to make something big, something great. Yeah, you can help other people out, but your work is not your life. You might spend a lot of time working, but at the end of the day, when it comes to business, you don't get it. You should not be attached to your business. The whole goal of a business is you either really love it and you have purpose, and this is something you want to do for a long time, or, which is not needed, I think it's not important, or you're growing a business so you can be wealthy and you need to get out of the business. You don't need to be attached to it. You don't need to have a purpose. You grow the business, you do a good job, you treat people fairly, you don't scam anybody, you grow the business, and then you sell it. You go do something that you enjoy.
This is a broad word, like I said, curious. What would you talk about on a Saturday night when money didn't matter and you weren't working with your friends? Try to make money there. If all you talk about is sports, try to make money in sports. If all you talk about is women, try to make money and, launch a dating course. Try to launch the next Tinder. There's a new dating app out of Sweden for double dates. It's killing it. There's always some new thing on love. There's always some new thing on sports. The guy who started Fanatics that prints jerseys. In fact, the guy who built this house, he made his money providing clothing to big sports. He makes like all the jackets for the Lakers and Manchester United and all that stuff. So what would you do on a Saturday night? What would you think about and talk about? Figure out how to make money in that, and you can make money. This is the one time in history where anything you like, you can make money in. And once you get rich, how should you spend your money?
However you want, without doing bad things, of course. It's your money. Give it to your kids. Don't give it to your kids. It's your money.
Mill, buy a farm. Don't ask me why. No questions answered on that. Just trust me on it. Thank me later. How much money is enough? For most humans, 10 million. I would never hate on a man who says, Ty, I'm going to make up 200 G's and move to Thailand or Brazil. I'd be like, my friend, you may have outsmarted some of the Forbes list guys I know. If you can figure out how to make 200 G's, you move down to Sao Paulo, Brazil, your money goes I did an Uber once. It was 85 cents. If you make
I think 10 mil is the right answer.
20 G's a month, you actually can't spend the money. You get a badass penthouse is like $3,000. A chef, $400 a month. How much money is enough? It depends which country you want to live in and what city. If you want to live in Beverly Hills, never will you have enough. You just keep you on the hedonic treadmill till you.
All right, guys, there you go. Ty Lopez. How do we rank this? Well, there was not a whole lot of practical business advice. I would give this, again, a 3 out of 10, similar to the last video if you guys watched that. As far as what I agreed, how much I liked the video, I would give this one probably a 6 out of 10. I don't think there was a whole lot of value. Not Ty Lopez's fault in this video. Do I like Ty Lopez? I'm not sure. I don't know based on this video. I thought this video would be a little bit better of a video. Based on the title, but unfortunately we did not get, a whole lot of questions, when it comes to actually how to get rich, like the title said. No information on starting a business, no practical information on scaling a business, and not much practical information on how to get rich. Once again, like normal with a lot of these videos, a lot of generic questions, not a whole lot of actual substance and things that you watching can actually go out and do right now. So overall, 3 out of 10 when it comes to that. So I hope you guys like this video. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Keep watching the videos, and I'll see you guys next time.